Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the House Medium. I'm Adele Levine, your House Medium. This is a podcast where you send in your stories of paranormal situationships. Um, and, and I read them, and then some of you come on to the podcast and I tell you what I see. However, this is an episode where there quite a few. Hold on, I need to take a sip of water. I'm a little thrown off because this is the first time I'm kind of recording myself doing a reader's room episode. So I don't know. You may be, meaning recording video. You may be entertained by it. You may be bored by it, but it will be on my YouTube. I've been posting videos. I wonder if many of you are sending in reader's room episode because you're getting a little weirded out that I'm having video recording going on. No, just kidding. Um, probably not, because it's not. I give you a choice. If you want to come on, you can only do audio or do video. And if you want to send in your stories, you can also just be anonymous, which I've had people, and we even have one of those stories today. However, I had quite a few. I had four people send in readers room episodes. So this is what I'm usually drinking. If you're watching the video, I'm not drinking out of a fun, cool mug because it's hot. So the Stanley Cup keeps the water cold. So yeah, real boring, real interesting. But you can see my fan that I tend to use a lot when I'm doing this podcast, which I love as well. Anyway, so a couple announcements. I am doing a psychic development workshop that's going to be this weekend. And for those of you who are on my Patreon, you signed up early. That's great. And there was a discounted price, but that's off now. So it's just regular price. However, it's a workshop where we are going to come together via Zoom and workshop our psychic abilities with each other. Yay, 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 yay. Practicing on each other. I want people to kind of, be able to put into practice the videos that I'm posting on my Patreon. And that brings me to the tier that I added in my Patreon, which is Sacred Scholar. And if you join that, then you are going to get the added tier, which is giving you a class a month via video. What I like about that is you can watch this when you want on your own leisure. You can talk to each other. Although I don't see you guys talking to each other, maybe I need to create, I think there's something I could create my Patreon where it kind of like pushes you guys to talk to each other. I don't mean force, but encourages that you guys can converse with each other, help each other learn and such. So that's only $5 more to go up to that tier. And you still get the energy climates every day and the monthly speed readings and the other stuff that I put on my Patreon for my Patreon peeps and the 35% off of all my readings whenever you want. I wanted to remind everybody, since I have your attention here, let me get into my trick bag. I always forget to promote. This is one of the original when the print was wrong, my book, Peering into the Narrow Room. Now, as for my book, I told you all that I'm writing. I am, but I need your help because I have stalled on it. I was writing like with a frenzy, and then I started chickening out. So please nudge me to keep writing the book. I really need the nudge. So just little words of encouragement like, Adela, get your butt into writing the book. That's what I need. um so yeah, so I think that's all the announcements. I don't have any medium brew. I did have someone send me something to review and I haven't picked it up, but I will and review it. It's actually a chocolate. I still have my medium brew cafe. I know I've been busy with my other podcast when Starbucks was fun, And we have a really special episode you guys got to check out because this is us on the field. And I think you love it. I feel like I'm cheating on my medium brew cafe, but I'm not because Starbucks was before, the medium brew cafe in my life. So I'm kind of not. But I don't have anything. I did feel like I wrote down, I have to check. I'm pretty sure that I wrote down, let me look, some alien news, like not alien news, paranormal gossip. Because I did feel like I wrote something down. Maybe I meant to. This is what happens a lot. I hear something and then I tell myself, "Oh, make sure you cover this and talk about it." And then I forget to write it down. So I'll have to see what that was about. The paranormal gossip is just, for me, it's things that are out in the zeitgeist that people are talking about. I've noticed that people are not talking so much about aliens as they're more talking about spirits. The only thing I wanted to say about this that has to do with people's love for the spirit and the paranormal is that I find it really interesting that I see all these posts that July, after 4th of July, there's all these jokes like people are out getting their, Halloween decorations. And I'm like, I deal with this shit every day. It's an everyday part of my life. And people get so excited about Halloween so early. And maybe it's because you're not opening yourself up to dealing with it every day. Just saying. And while I have your attention I do want to add something on my YouTube lives. And I do go live on YouTube and do readings. And I have I do readings for, little mini readings on there for a much discounted price donation. And at the end of every reading, I bring out my Zoltar. See Zoltar? And I have Zoltar say something to us. So Zoltar, I would love to hear what you would say to people to help them through their day. Here we go. Wow. And here's the weird thing, everyone. Anybody who's been on my YouTube, so in do. Is that not fitting to my book, perhaps? Oh, snap. Where's my mic drop when I need it? Let's see if I is that not maybe having to do with my book, perhaps? Wow. Okay, Zoltar. I hear you. Do it. Your intention was nice, Adela, but do it. Okay. If this fit for you as well, then thank you, Zoltar. This is like a little box. This is how I feel. This is why I love Zoltar because this is me. This is how I feel. People are like, what do you see? What do you see? Sit in this box. And speaking of Halloween, I've always wanted to basically go as Zoltar, but then just put Zoltar, aka Adela, like wear a box. But no one would get it in the world unless I went to a party or something, which I don't get invited to unless I'm reading. Otherwise, they won't get why I'm doing it. Does that make sense? Okay. But that's one Zoltar. But I have another that I found. Those of you who are not familiar with Zoltar, shame on you. You should go run in shame. However, what Zoltar... I
am Zoltar, the great gypsy, and I can see your fortune. Come see it too, no?
I didn't mean to push it. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Zoltar, he is a psychic. He's a true psychic. Lives in a box. You put in some coins and he tells you what he sees. Sounds familiar? Anyway, and if you are old enough, you might remember him from the movie Big. Now, let me just say how much I don't like kind of realizing that I'm aging myself because our podcast with Starbucks was fun. We went out into the field because it was the 30th anniversary of the Starbucks we opened up in Studio City on Vantage of Ventura on July 5th. And let me just say, I realized that that's the same as when I was 15 in 1985 and 30 years ago was 1955. I don't like it. I don't like that. I don't like that Back to the Future is the same amount of time as right now to 1994. Did you hear that, millennials? You too are looking old. All right, let's see what Zoltar has to say on this little keychain. Or those of you who are listening, it's a little keychain version of Zoltar. If you notice, his voice doesn't quite sound the same.
He who laughs last thinks slowest. Stay alert, my friend, and laugh heartily and quickly.
Really?
It is better to keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool than to open it and remove all doubt.
All right, thanks, Zoltar. This is Zoltar and Timu. I'm just saying. It's not like the box one. So, just saying. All right, with that said, let's get to our emails. Those of you who are watching this, you can see that I'm not so old. I actually read these on my iPad in an app that's for scripts. Wait a minute. Makes the font bigger. Okay, moving on. Okay, that's enough for that. Hi, Adela. I love your new podcast and cannot thank you enough for a reading you did for me a few minutes ago. This is my first installment quote of stories to share for the house medium. Open. Was it open to this part of a reader's room edition? Oh, open to this being a part of the reader's room edition or more typical episode. All right, story one. I was in elementary school and I was upset about what I remember as not wanting to eat all the pancakes I was given for breakfast. Yes, so dramatic. I was really adamant I didn't want to eat them, and I had what is probably equivalent to a tantrum, resulting me getting sent up to my room. I remember flopping on my forcing out a bit of cry from frustration. I was on my belly, head and face down on the bed, framed between my arms, when I felt a hand, a full palm, and all 5 fingers placed on my back. I quickly lifted my head and looked over my right shoulder. Nothing. The door was closed to my room, and no one was physically in there with me. I still remember the event well to this day. I know I wasn't afraid, more so startled in the moment. It felt like a comforting gesture. When I went back downstairs later, I recalled telling my parents what happened. They both had this neutral face. And then my mom went, that was a guardian angel. We left it at that, and I don't think I even considered the event could be anything else because I have massive fear of anything ghostly / spirit like until my mid-20s. I'm curious to see what you might have actually transpired that day. Much love, Juliana. Okay, Juliana, this is my feeling. When I see this, it's not a guardian angel, because I have a different belief about the whole concept of guardian angels. Not to take away your mom's. Here, I'm going to adjust my light for those of you who are watching. Yeah, you're going to literally see me adjust my light in front of you, and not the inner light. But I feel that what I saw as soon as I was reading it was actually a man. I saw a man standing there. He looked kind of older. And the weird thing is he doesn't look like super friendly, but not bad, meaning like it's like he's kind of annoyed that nobody's talking about him. He's definitely on the father side. And he's kind of saying, like, nobody talks about me, nobody acknowledges me. It's that kind of mad. It's not mad like I'm mad at everybody, but kind of like hurt mad. Like, hey, how come no one's, talks about me or acknowledges or remembers my existence? So I definitely saw an older man, and I felt like he was just kind of like, she's going to hear me. She's more open than the rest of the family. So that's what I saw. And for some reason, when I see him, he is kind of, I want to say, gray looking, in the sense that I feel like he might have been, very like ill, like with cancer or something. He was dying. He didn't die quickly. He had an illness for a while. And that's how he looked before he died, but that's not how he looks anymore. But that's what I see. So let me know. Let us know. Update us, Juliana. All right, moving on to story number 4. Hi, Adela. I heard you say you wanted stories/dreams. Sorry, story number 2. Slash encounters, etc. for your pod. So here's a dream that happened this morning. If you think it fits your program, great. If not, that's okay too. I was dreaming where I was in my kitchen and walked into the dining room. There stood a female figure, her profile to me. Quote, she was slender in form and not very tall, maybe 4 feet 10 and maybe 80 pounds. She was standing alone in the dining room eating. Well, that's what the impression I had, but I didn't notice a face. She was dressed head to toe in some dark, muted, gray, long skirt. Dress. That's me going, I did not recall a face or any features. And she did not have hair. Her head, in fact, was oval or almond shaped, not round. Interesting. This is sounding a little familiar. Wouldn't you say, everyone? A little familiar. Like, not round like a human. Okay, sorry. Head. And that too was gray, like her skirt. It sounds weird to explain, but she was in profile. I could see her clearly, her head shape, but everything else was like gray pleather. There was nothing ominous or scary. She didn't try and talk to me or look at me. She just stood there, and I had the distinct impression it was just the two of us. Not sure if my dog woke me or I just woke up, but then it was gone and I wrote it down. It could just be a weird dream, but I was left with the impression that it wasn't cut and dry. Would love to know your thoughts. Great job on both podcasts. I'm enjoying When Starbucks Was Fun. Hope all is well with you, Monica. Thanks, Monica. And thanks for the plug. Well, this is interesting, Monica, because you know what I'm going to say. And I wore these for you. My alien earrings. Definitely alien, Monica. That's what I feel. I feel that the reason why you saw her, quote unquote, in a dress, in this gray dress, the head shape, the size, everything points to alien, but it feels very friendly. I know that sounds strange, but I feel like she just wanted you to feel like, kind of give you the impression that this was a friendly occurrence. Just, hey, we're just hanging out. That's kind of what I try to tell people the hypnotizing is about, quote unquote, when they're kind of trying to make you feel like you're somewhere else, or something else is happening, so you feel more comfortable. But yeah, I definitely feel like this one is alien. So I feel like they were kind of making contact, letting themselves be known. And I have a feeling if you check in with the rest of your family, you might notice that they had felt the same. Meaning, like, they may have had some experiences. This is what I've learned from doing this for so long, especially this podcast, is that people don't talk to each other. And they'll surprise and go, "Oh my gosh, my mom or dad never said anything, but they had this experiences as well. I'm finding out." And they've kept it to themselves all these years. So I would have a chat, a chitty chat with the rest of your family. Hi, Adela. Okay, we're moving on to number 4, but please let us know because we all want to know what maybe your family had to say. So number 3, we're not moving on 4. Why do I keep seeing them number? Because I have 4 in my mind. I'm like, there's 4 podcasts. I mean, 4. Listen, this is what happens when you have 2 podcasts, 2 YouTube channels. You do readings, you do classes. Your mind, your mind gets a little overwhelmed. I want to make sure that I'm keeping track that I have 4 emails for this podcast for the Reader's Room. Hi, Adela. I've been enjoying your podcast. If you read this on air, please refer to me as anonymous listener. No problem, anonymous. Or something like that. I've always struggled with knowing how to find the line between spirituality and mental illness. And I do want to comment on that, and I will when I'm done reading this email, because that's a very, very good, legitimate point. I've had a few experiences which have left me wondering if I was experiencing a psychiatric symptom or something spiritual. I have a solid clinical medical team. I am treated for depression and ADHD and anxiety, no other psychiatric disorders. Here's the one that feels like more of a softball. I don't know if I'll be ready to address the other ones for a while. Understandable. I've struggled with alcoholism for about 15 years. I first got sober 6 years ago. Congratulations. And typically last year or two before briefly going off the wagon and having to start over. The last time I drank was over a year ago, and I had an experience that really shook me. I was half sleeping after drinking too much wine with my aunt. I was not at the point where I was puking or blacking out, but I was pretty lit. I was very distressed as I tossed and turned, going in and out of consciousness, and my husband said I was talking in kind of an agonized but incoherent way. I remember really vividly sensing this ethereal, feminine presence, like a high priestess or goddess or Mary energy. I didn't literally hear her with my ears, but I clearly sensed this message. Not mean, but firm, kind, but not touchy-feely. The message was, you have work to do in this life, and you don't have time to keep poisoning it yourself like this. Enough. I don't know what I was saying, but I remember this was really squirmy, whiny feeling, and I remember sort of feeling like an out of body, like I was hovering over my body, and all I kept thinking was, ugh, why did they have to make me human this time? As though I was referring to this incarnation being particularly difficult or something. I haven't had a drink since, and I do feel a much stronger sense of purpose. Was this a spirit guide thing? Or was I just drunk having a weird dream? Something else? Thanks for your time, your consideration. Anonymous listener. All right, Anonymous. Thank you for being so, I want to say thank you for being so vulnerable. It's not easy to share a story like that, and it's 100% understandable why you're anonymous about it. And I want to also address that this is a very good question. People tend to ask this question a lot. Like, is there something to, like, if there is a line, a blurred line between mental health and psychic abilities? And I can say that I don't think we know for sure. I really don't. I feel like there are times where things that people experience and have had experience could very much be on the spiritual tip, can be something spiritual that they're experiencing, but they don't really understand it. I also believe that there are times where it's not. And this is one of the rules that I follow whenever someone's, trying to struggle with this. If you are asking yourself questions like, am I losing it? Is this like real? Is this not? Is this just in my mind? You're usually, to me, probably having something spiritual, because people who are like, this is real, I know for sure, I know that, I know I saw what I saw, there's no doubt about it, no one can tell me otherwise, that kind of thing. It's usually a little questionable, because that means those people are kind of not even trying to stay grounded. You see what I mean? So I just want you to know the fact that you're self aware, you have a team, that you're doing things. And that's for anybody who's questioning this, because most readers, most people who have these abilities, kind of say this in jest, but they'll say, I don't know, is this just like, am I just losing it, or am I really seeing stuff? Because we know what we're doing is so fringe, isn't, accepted, isn't in the mainstream. And it's kind of a lonely, path, because you're kind of experiencing this on your own. With all that said, and being responsible, no, it wasn't just an episode you were having that night due to the alcohol. My feeling is what happens, what people need to realize, is that if you're under the influence of something, it will kind of open you up, just like anything. Like if people say, oh, I need to take a drink to get more brave, to kind of loosen my tongue and speak, or maybe people smoke weed or whatever. They do things to kind of get them to a place where they feel like they can let go of their inhibitions, yeah, and open themselves up. So I feel like that's what happened, and I do feel like this being, which is kind of more of an archangel. And archangels are kind of the big ones, like Michael and Raphael and all these types of beings, was kind of like kicking your butt a little bit and saying, hey, wake up, be aware, look what you're doing to yourself. And those type of beings will tend to do that. They for sure will come to you at times like that. What I mean by that, we don't have guardian angels, because people think we have like angels following us around and telling us how to live and how to be, and their main focus is just on us. I don't have this belief system, because it's kind of implying all the attention's on us and we're the main focus, and I don't really see that with those types of beings. But archangels kind of work in the way of like, we are making sure like they're there for the big stuff, and they're very powerful and protective, and they're basically what I feel like happened to you, which might be more the angel. This is what just came to me, by the way, is Azrael. And Azrael is the angel that helps us to deal with grief, to deal with our losses, and even facing our own. So I feel like something came to you and said, Azrael, hey, make up your mind. What are you going to do? Are you going to keep going down this path? Or are you going to take the path where you won't be here anymore? You see? So that's what I feel happened. So if you look up Archangel Azrael, and it's one of the archangels I work with, they help with loss and grief. And I say they because it's not a man or a woman. And they kind of help you choose what direction are you going to go. So there you go. I hope that helped. All right, let's move into our last email. Hello, Adela. So this is a story I've been wanting to share for a bit. While I've had some downtime in Mexico, I am now taking time to write it. Let me practice a story by saying, as a kid/teen, I already had a morbid fascination with death. Images of the Grim Reaper intrigued me rather than scared me. Skulls and skies to me were cool. During my teens, I was introduced to the character Death from Neil Gaiman's Sandman graphic novels, which gave me a deeper appreciation and a love for death. Now, a show on Netflix. I'm happy more folks are getting to meet this character and are talking about it. Now, forwarding a few years during a college class, I would come to learn about Santa Muerte or Saint Death. Interesting. To be honest, I didn't consciously remember. I remembered what his email was about, but when it came to me that that was Azrael, that just flowed naturally into this email. Like I put the emails in order on as you those who are watching on my iPad, but I did not put them in order on purpose for the two because I don't tune in to who it was for each email until the time. So I find this very interesting. Um, Grim Reaper's The Female's Personification of Death takes on a folk saint role form in Mexico. Her following has become so big it has even come to the States and other parts of the world. She called my attention and I did my research on her, going so as far doing a presentation on her following and symbolism for a Spanish speakers course I was taking in college, which fascinated my professor's classmates, and I thought that would be all there was to it. An academic interest, Santa Muerte, though, had other plans for me. Around this time, I was at the start of my spiritual journey and I started noticing a skeletal figure from the corner of my eyes, almost hovering around me at ceremonies I was attending. There was even one ceremony where I felt her presence enrapture me, and I could completely understand that life and death were the same, like flip sides of the coin. The facilitator of the ceremony became animated and ecstatic when I told her I was seeing Santa Muerte because she also saw her around me. However, I was also respectfully hesitant to go into fully working with Santa Muerte. For my research, becoming a devotee of hers is not something one should take lightly. That's correct. So I acknowledged her, and that was it. Around the next few months, she would continue to peer around me in ceremonies, almost teasing me and getting me out of my comfort zone. Eventually, there came a period in my life when I was having difficulties with an individual in a long distance relationship that was going sour. I never linked the two, but one night I decided to do a writing exercise where I was writing a letter to Santa Muerte describing her, complimenting her, and letting her know I both acknowledged and respect her. Then I asked her why she was always around me. Maybe she had some message she wanted to convey. So I asked her in a letter what was it she wanted to tell me. That night she responded very clearly in my sleep. I don't recall anything else from that night, but I distinctly heard a female voice tell me just before I woke up, "You tell him he is no friend of yours." Immediately, I woke up with a charge of energy and reached for a trash can to throw up. The message was that powerful, and I knew exactly who she was talking about and that she was right. A few days or a week later, I followed the Santa Muerte's advice and ended the relationship. Death helped me to release it at least. Then, for a while, I didn't seem to have any other encounters with her after her message was received. A month or two later, though, during a meditation class where I visualized myself in a pool of water, I heard the word commitment, and the next to me, holding my hand, there was Santa Muerte again smiling. I realized at this point she had been courting me all this time and smiled back in my mind with a sigh and agreed to work with her more. It's been years now, and she remains one of my most faithful guides. I figured, too, since I'm in Mexico, which is her home country, it would be a great time to write the story and maybe others to have been seeing a Grim Reaper's appearance around them would love your insight and talk more. Eric. Well, I read this on, which I know, Eric, you're kind of thinking about doing the mentorship, reminding people that I do these mentorships. And I told him that that would be something that he might want to do, learning how to work with deities and such. But I wanted to read it on here because he's right. Maybe I just kind of didn't even think about it. I think I might have even contacted you and said, oh, this might be something you want to do in a mentorship, but I put it on to the podcast today. And my feeling is that you got to remember that these are energies. It's not literally a woman in bones. It's not literally a woman at all. It's an energy. And it's not always about death. It's not always about physical death. It could be about a death of a time in your life, or a stage in your life, or a piece of you is dying and you're becoming born into a new version of yourself. So you got to remember, when you're working with those energies, they don't court you. They kind of approach and say, since you kind of are not getting something and you're not catching on, you may want to start respecting this realm. In other words, if you're going to work in this realm, you better kind of learn better how to work in this realm. You see what I mean? Like you better come to you need to come to a better understanding of how to work with this realm. So they're a little bit more of, you're kind of dropping over into our space. So we're answering back. And those type of energies are about, um, with the reason why it feels so strong is because they kind of don't mess around. They're not there to help you find your keys. They're not there to take you on your spiritual journey. They don't hang around you. You're just seeing a representation of them. So in other words, kind of imagine you're seeing a piece. So kind of like if there's a video of me right here, it's not all of me. You're getting a piece of my energy, but you know how, like, if you watch someone and but you talk to someone online, or you text someone, or you're having an online situation, and you meet someone in person, you're getting all of their true essence. It's very different. Well, that's how those beings are. So the version you're seeing is a version they want you to see. They're all the same. Anubis, which is Egyptian, which is the underworld god. uh, what I say, Azrael and Santa Muerte. Did I say it right? All the same. They're all the same. Just every culture is going to have a different name and a different version of it, because it fits the culture. It fits the people. The people are going to be more comfortable with the version of it for their culture, their energy, their essence. So it's all the same energy. So don't get so caught up in the holding their hand and they're courting you. It's more of a, if you're really going to walk in this spiritual realm, you better learn all the parts of it, and you better know what you're doing. It's a little bit of a firm, like, respect this path. So I hope that helps. That's how those energies are. And feel free to let me know if you want to do a mentorship. I'm also going to be definitely posting a video on working with deities on my Patreon. But that is what I've learned about those types of energies. They don't fuck around. They're like, listen, if you're going to mess around in the spiritual realm, if you are going to fancy yourself in this realm, you better learn all the parts and respect it. And they will show up in the form they think you are being drawn to and you are going to respond to. And those energies are different. And there's a reason. So if you look even today, different images of Jesus, let's say, are drawn according to different cultures and different ways they see those stories. So I don't, want to compare it in that way, but kind of imagine it even a more lighter way. You know how we have TV shows and movies that are dubbed and the voices changed, and it's a little different in different areas of the world. Even the editing might change according to what works. That is kind of how they work. That's a better example. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Whenever I do the readers room, it's a little shorter than my normal episodes. So I hope that's fine. But I still would love to have you send in your stories to come onto this podcast. Don't worry. I'll give you a choice of video or audio or both. And Check out all the things that I have going on. I post everything on my Instagram at Adele Levine and the House Medium. Thank you for the reviews that are starting to come in. I would like to read a review. Hold on. Speaking of, I'm going to make it easier. Instead of this big iPad, I'm just going to read the review on here. And I so appreciate you taking the time to do these reviews because it does help. I think it helps. I mean, I don't know. It could have changed, but it helps me and it helps other people who are finding this podcast. So I posted this review and it just came up. The House Medium podcast is an absolute gem for anyone captivated by the mysteries of the paranormal. Each episode masterfully delves into the eerie and unexplained, offering listeners a thrilling journey into the world of ghosts, spirits, and haunted houses. The horse, the host, the horse. The host storytelling is truly spellbinding, weaving together chilling accounts of supernatural encounters with an expert insight into the other side. The way the podcast explores the history, hauntings of various properties, it is both informative, deeply engaging, making it impossible to stop listening once you started. Wow. One of the standout features of the House Medium is its in-depth conversation with people who have experienced the supernatural firsthand. These experiences firsthand. These interviews provide a fascinating glimpse into the unseen world and lend credibility to the spine-tingling tales shared on the show. The podcast strikes the perfect balance between spine-chilling suspense, wow, genuine curiosity about the paranormal. I mean, damn, thank you. The host's genuine passion for uncovering the truth about the other side is evident. Thank you. In every episode, making the podcast not just a source of ghost stories, but a thoughtful exploration of what lies beyond our understanding. For anyone intrigued by the paranormal, House Medium is a must listen. It's enthralling, well produced series that will leave you questioning the boundaries between the seen and the unseen. Highly recommend for all lovers of supernatural. And this is brought to you by GK Herps. Thank you. Brought to you by, thank you, GK. I need a drink of water after that. Woo! Thank you for that awesome review. I don't have like my sound effects queued for this. Um um thank you so much for that. I so appreciate it. It really does help in like me, but here we go. Here we go. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you all so much for joining me on this is episode 75. So I'm going to start planning something for episode 100. Wow, 100 episodes? Wow, I'm going to start planning. This is episode 25. Thank you for joining me on this Reader's Rune episode. Send in your emails to thehousemedium@gmail. Come on to my podcast. I do not bite. I swear. Follow yourself. Follow no one. Listen to your inner voice. And I'll see you soon.